Okay, my name's Margaret Bartelt. I've lived on the Big Island for 40 years. I was a CPS social worker for 21 years. On the morning of October 15th, I was walking my dog on Sea Road in Hawaiian Acres, and when we got to 3 Road, 3 pit bulls came around the corner. I yelled at them to go home. They kept coming toward me. I went in the weeds, put my dog between my legs, and proceeded to scream for 10 minutes. The owners were close enough. I'm sure they heard, and the police officers found them at their home after the attack happened while I was on my way to the emergency room. I'm not here to throw stones at the police or the prosecutors or the Humane Society. Having been a public servant of CPS for 21 years, I know we all have time constraints, etc., but something has to be done. These dogs were not confiscated. I was told they couldn't be because of the way the rules are now. There seems to be little or no coordination between the police department and the Humane Society. What disturbs me most is I've been told by my victim witness counselor at the prosecutor's office, Mrs. Bartelt, don't count on going to trial because many times we never get the police report before the statute of limitation runs. What does this say to dog owners on this island? We can just do it? Those dogs are out again Monday, the 28th of October. Another neighbor called me. As well as myself, who should have the freedom to be able to walk on my own public property, I'm worried about the children that get off the school bus at 1 and C Road in Hawaiian Acres and walk down 3 Road to their homes. If they're confronted by these animals, they're dead meat. You know, and I say that bluntly because that's what's going to happen. You know, I love animals. In our years out there, we've had 7 of our own. But something has to be done for people to be responsible. I've had nothing but cooperation from the Humane Society representative that I've worked with. He has called me, he has talked to me, he has answered my questions, but I sense the frustration in his voice that he can't do anything. It's my understanding that the dogs have to be on loose and the owner's not found before the Humane Society can confiscate without a court order. So that's where I'm at. We as a community have to step up, help us get something between the police and the Humane Society so we can help ourselves before a child gets killed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Teresa Metcalf. I've lived here for about 30 years. I'm a retired registered nurse from Hilo Medical Center. I had the opportunity to take care of Miss Bartelt. Now, I just had a few concerns about this. I understand that we have a very unique situation where we are very rural and we have few officers and a wide area to protect. And we need to foster good relations between the community and the police and not encourage people to take things into their own hands. We need to have a good relationship with police officers. After going to the Humane Society and the police department for 1 week, I knocked on each one of their doors every day to find out what was going on. I discovered several areas for improvement. And one of them is that we have no animal control division in the police department. We rely on the Humane Society. I understood that it is the responsibility of the police department to contact the Humane Society for follow-up, and unfortunately, the officer who responded had the next 2 days off, so that information never got to the Humane Society. And then when the Humane Society did respond, after several days, they found that the dogs were contained. And that's really not good enough, because if I were to perpetrate a crime like that and cause that kind of harm to somebody, I'd be behind bars. Not, oh, well, you know, she had a bad day and now she's, you know, in her house and fine. That's not okay. That's not acceptable. When people call 911, can animal control be added to it so that someone from the Humane Society knows immediately to respond at the scene with the police department, and that can be taken care of? So when people call 911 and they say, you know, fire, police, ambulance, what's your emergency? Add animal control. And this also may divert a lot of unnecessary calls that the police department get because a dog is barking. You know, just divert it right to Humane Society.
Good morning. My name's Jennifer Spinkin, and I just acquired my dreamland in Hawaiian Acres, and I'm looking really forward to homesteading and farming. And this issue is terrifying to me. You know, I don't want to feel like I need to guard my property with a weapon against these animals. I don't want to think about what it would do to my spirit to have to shoot an animal. There has been countless attacks on livestock from wild dogs running around, attacks on people, on elderly, and I feel like it's my right to feel safe in my home regardless of how long I've been there. And I am here to plead with you guys to have some kind of reform, something put in place to protect the citizens of this neighborhood, and to not put us in a position where we have to feel like a militia against dogs, and we have to, I don't want to carry a weapon. You know, I want to feel safe.
I have about 40 head of goats, ducks, geese, turkeys, guineas, rabbits, chickens, turkeys, everything you can imagine. I bought the property because it's agricultural land, and that's what I intend to do with the land, is agricultural purposes. When I moved into the property, I noticed there was several dogs that were loose in the neighborhood, but I thought, you know, dogs get out occasionally. No big deal, right? Contact your neighbor, say, hey, your dog's out, you know, do the polite thing. So, first of all, it's hard to contact your neighbor when they have dogs chained, lined up in their driveway. So you can't even get to their house to say, hey, your dog is out, you know? So I was waiting for the right opportunity to say something to this particular individual. And there's several groups of individuals who have dogs roaming on my street alone. Until her pack of dogs, which is maybe 3 to 5, and she has maybe 15 or 20 in her driveway. So they rotate them out. She lets them off the leash when she leaves the property so that they can protect her place or whatever, which is fine. But they're not protecting her place. They're at my place. Her dogs have killed several of my animals. They came to my property, surrounded me like a pack, and were trying to bite and lunge at me. So, my job is to protect my animals and myself. So I grabbed my rifle and I was ready to shoot them. I fired one shot. They ran off the property, and I kind of followed them to see where they would head to. The people who own the property came down the street in their car, and they were kind of confused as to why this crazy lady with a gun was coming down the road with them. And I said, look, you know, your animals are trying to bite me. Like, they're not regular dogs. Like, regular dogs would be like, hi, I'm out. You know, help me find my way home. These dogs were surrounding me, lunging at me, trying to kill my chickens. They'd already killed some of my animals, some of my chickens. So I said, you know, are these your animals? They said, yes, those are my animals. I said, well, you know, I need to protect myself from your animals. That's ridiculous for them to be out. And she said, oh, well, if they're out and they're off my property, shoot them. They deserve it. And that's the consensus in the neighborhood. It is a known thing that if your dogs are out, just shoot them, because that's what that's what you do. I also did animal rescue when the lava was flowing. I love animals. That's why I started getting into animals. I've rescued them. I've nurtured them back to health. I don't want to have to shoot an animal. I want them to be responsible for their animals. Keep them accountable. Keep them in a situation where they're going to want to do that. They're going to want to keep their animals safe.
Thank you,
I
Ms.
had
Grosset.
2 baby goats that they bit, and it took 2 weeks for them to die. I have several animals that just get, the other people, they're like, I shot so-and-so's dogs yesterday. It's no big deal, because they're causing problems. And it's an ongoing issue, and it's not a typical pet situation. They're not pets, they're tools. And they
Thank you,
need to
Ms.
be held
Grosset.
accountable.
A few years ago, when my son was 2, he was at his grandparents' house, and a dog was loose. Came on the property, and it was really, really vicious. Came after my son. His grandmother stepped in the way. She got bit and torn all these parts in her arm. If that dog came for my son at 2, he would be dead, because it would have just gone for whatever it would have gone for. Legally, it is really, really hard to get anything done as far as the police, the Humane Society. The one thing that they can request is for the dogs to get turned in and maybe put down. But what happened when they turned the dogs in is that one of their friends came and stole the dogs back. So the dogs are back out in public again. And suing the owners or going through any kind of legal process, it has been outrageous. My son is now 7, and they're still in the process of suing the owners. So I'm not sure what can be done, but something needs to be done. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Capuni.